Hey, good morning, Mike. Welcome, everybody, to Talking Niagara. This morning, it is Tuesday, the 11th of February, 2025. And we're here as always every weekday morning and welcome you to the show.
Welcome.
Yeah. So, a couple of stories we didn't get to yesterday. 4 Thorold families get the key to their new lives. So Centennial Homes completed construction on 4 residencies at no cost to Habitat for Humanity, and basically presented the keys to these homes on behalf of Habitat last week.
Yeah, this seems to be a combined effort, and that it just says that through the unwavering support of strong network suppliers and subtrades, Centennial Homes proudly completed construction on 4 townhouses in Thorold for Habitat and Humanity at no cost to the charity. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now I'll just read the second paragraph here. This impactful collaboration was ignited by shared passion for giving back when Centennial Homes founder and president Dominic Dalala connected with Habitat Niagara CEO Mark Carl to explore how they could make a real difference, and they delivered in a big way. So the happy news here is that a few people got some affordable homes.
Yeah. And what I like about this is that an organization like Centennial that are building a lot of homes around the Niagara region and in Hamilton are actually giving back, if you like. So if you build 100 homes, you could easily do if you build 100 homes for a profit, you could build one for a non-profit.
Yeah,
So it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's stated here that the initiative was a natural extension of Centennial Homes' dedication to their community and a commitment to recognized when they named the Company of the Year in 2023. The Niagara Home Builders Association further cemented their reputation as community. And here is a quote: "I am both humbled and honored by the opportunity for our community or our company to make meaningful impact in the lives of these families. As a father, and incredibly rewarding to know that these children have a safe, nurturing environment to grow and call their own." Yeah, these were all single family or single parent families, basically, that received the homes.
Yeah. And it's like we're giving something here to the to the most needy in our community. And it's only 4 homes, but it's it's a step in the right direction.
Yes, it is, and it sounds good, and I'm very happy for these 4 families to get these nice new homes. Of course, the broader question is, what about all the others?
Yeah.
This is nice, and it hits the headlines, and I take my hat off to Centennial Homes and the Habitat for Humanity and all that. But the need is so great, and it seems to me, this is the right direction. Yeah. This is the right direction, but what about all the others?
Yeah, how are we going to get some more? We need affordable homes. We need more affordable homes than we've currently got, and it takes more initiatives like this to actually get us moving in the right direction. I congratulate Habitat and Centennial for this, but we do need more, and other builders to step up and do likewise.
It says here, families chosen for the home ownership program must demonstrate a need for better housing, complete 500 volunteer hours and pay an affordable mortgage. These mortgage payments are reinvested back into Habitat Niagara's Fund for Humanity, fueling construction of more homes and helping even more families across Niagara achieve affordable home ownership. But all I'm thinking of now is all the other families that thinking, oh man, how come I wasn't chosen? Now the idea they are choosing, it seems, families that are set to be successful if given a leg up. So these people have done 500 community hours worth of service and are good people, and the conclusion is that they will be good homeowners and be able to pay their mortgage, as small as it is. But I'm wondering how many others there could be, and as I said, this is great news and it's good to have these things, but I think that it like, generally speaking, we don't have enough of this.
No, we don't. One of the thoughts that I had about this is for new builds, for people moving into homes that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford it, but are committed to home buying in the long run. Now, I've also thought about the need for something like Habitat for Humanity, whereby when people lose their homes, when people become unemployed, become in threat of losing their homes through through bad luck, is there a way that we can deal with that? Is there a charity that we could set up to enable that to happen? Save people's homes again. Do it on the same type of basis, whereby it's an affordable mortgage. To allow people to stay in their own homes where they're prior owners.
Yeah, that's another thing too. So it really asks more questions than it answers, and the habitat of it. Let's just point out and sort of shout out the names of those involved here. It was Centennial Homes spearheading the initiative, and their list of suppliers and subtrades: All Pro Plumbing and Heating, the Banco Group, the Banco Roofing, Bosco Roofing, Bernstein Brick, Decast, MCO Corporation, Espro High Definition Painting, Emporium Carpet and Flooring, Fleming Windows and Mirrors, JD Barnes Limited.
So a whole stack of other corporations got involved.
Yeah, they're all suppliers and subtrades, and there's a pile of them here, and I tip my hat to them as well for kicking in. The problem, of course, is always like we could use this more and more and more. We could use way more than this, and why? And it is the right thing to do. And of course, Habitat for Humanity is all over the place, all over the world, and there are church groups too that go down to developing the developing world and build houses in villages and so on, and schools, et cetera, et cetera. Now that's very good, but we have a growing problem right here, and how do we do both? How do we take care of our own and take care of the rest other parts of the world? Yeah. I think to make an argument that we should really spend more time on our own for now, because if we are a strong economy and if we take care of our own, then those who are now being housed will remember that and have in their future will try to address housing matters locally and around the world as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of we've got to you've got to be some initiatives to enable this to happen. Okay, before we move on, there's a private message here for you from Gary. So Wings today. He wants to know what time.
How about 1 o'clock?
There you go, Gary. There you go,
1 o'clock.
Gary.
Yeah.
Here's your answer. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
I have a pretty full morning, so 1 o'clock would be good.
Okay. So moving on, Mona Patel says there needs to be a crackdown upon messy, disorganized private parking lots. Hey, we've heard this probably for about 3 or 4 years now, and the city keeps coming up with it about this sort of time every year. One of the city councillors saying, we've got messy, disorganized parking lots. We got various issues with our parking lots. Some of them are potentially are just, they're not up to code. They're not safe. They're have problems. And the other thing I know about them is how they seem to be scammers, run by scammers.
Yeah, it could be. Now, Mona Patel has brought this up, but she hasn't really referred to the previous the previous initiatives on this. This is already on the books. This is already being brought up.
That's what I thought.
Yes. So she's bringing this up as if it's a new thing. I'm not so sure she looked into what had already been done. Nevertheless, she got she was well listened to, and her points were acknowledged. However, others have said, "Well, we're already doing something like that." I guess here the difference is she wants the city to be aware of all the different ones and where they are and are they up to snuff, which is an initiative that is already happening. But it nevertheless was addressed. Well, go ahead.
What I object to about some of them is I had to go down to the tourist area a couple of years back, and the guys waving a sign out of there that's saying $5 all day, and I'm thinking, okay, that's about a that's about a 10-minute walk for me to where I need to get to, and I start to I pull in. And he says, yeah, it's $5 for the first hour and $10 an hour after that. And I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? I'm not coming in, apologies for that. Swear word on live thing, not permitted. Okay. But you get where I am, it's like I want, if you're saying $5 an hour, $5 an hour means $5 an hour.
Yeah, these are the kind of things that of course she's addressing, and she's brought this up, but like Councillor Lori Lococo says, some of what Patel is asking for was addressed last year when the council manager of the bylaw enforcement addressed the council about issues such as painted lines, lighting, and grade. He says, we've just revamped the fees. Some of this staff has already done last year. Bill Madsen said the bylaw was passed a few years ago in the direction of council last year when reintroduced to enforce the bylaw. And the mayor says that despite the bylaw issues remain, with council approval, staff will report back outlining how many private parking lots exist in Niagara Falls and to indicate their locations. So that part maybe not have been done, but it will. But it's also already seems to have been done, and I don't think Patel was aware of that. Otherwise, she would have referenced what has already been done and asked for improvements on what already has been done.
I don't think she was aware. I think she was she was on, she's in La La Land when they were talking about it last, because I remember this has been on the subject matter for the last 3 or 4 years. And slowly but surely we've been moving forward with it. I even remember Wayne Thompson standing up and saying that a lot of his friends in the tourism industry have been calling for standardization of this.
Yeah. Now this is the difference between a new counselor and an old counselor. Another more seasoned counselor would have found out what had been done about it first, and then said, okay, obviously in her mind, this is a new issue, but the council has already brought it up, and a more seasoned counselor would have looked into what had already been done and what improvements could be made on already what is being done. This is an issue that is being brought up and is not new. And Patel has sort of introduced it as a brand new thing, as her own particular initiative, which I appreciate, a counselor taking their own initiative and coming up with something like this. But she should really have looked into, okay, I see a problem here. What have we done up until this time? And where are we failing in that? And where can we improve it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think there have been some failings. I think we've got some bad car parks, but I think we've also got some good ones. And since I put that thing about having turned into that car park and it said $5 all day, many of them have cleaned up now. Many of them are not portraying the same signs. Many of them are actually now pay as you pay at the meter type thing.
Well, yes, and so whatever the council has done up until this point, and they have also directed staff to enforce these bylaws.
Yeah,
that obviously something has been done, and Patel is late to the game. Now, as I said before, I appreciate the fact that she's saw something and she wants to initiate something, but she should have done a little research, and that's what I think a lot of these counselors, or particularly new ones, don't seem to do. You have to do a little bit of research on your own. Oh, I see these parking lots, how they are, and how some of them seem to be non-compliant. Then you go to Burgess or whoever else, Matson, and you find out, well, has there anything been done, and what are we doing up till now? And then
we probably all know,
and then refine her motion or her presentation as saying, well, we did address this, but this is where we're still lacking.
Yes, exactly. And I think we have some bad players out there, but many of them have smartened up.
Yeah. Now, Patel said she wants to know whether all non-compliant parking lots have been served notices by enforcement staff to comply with the bylaw. What ramifications are? Yeah. So that's a little bit better. How are we enforcement? How, like, bylaw enforcement is not the easiest thing to do. It's kind of slow, and you need lots, a lot of verbal warnings, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they have about 15 bylaw staff dealing with pretty well every kind of type of bylaw offense that there is in the city. So parking lots are just one of many bylaw offenses out there.
So the bylaw staff cannot just zero in on one thing, although they already have been directed to enforce it. And basically, what I think Diodati has said, it was, we've already done something, but it still is a problem. And so to make staff aware of or council aware of all the different parking lots out there is probably a good thing going forward. But I think the initiative was already underway. This probably adds a little bit to it, but
yeah, I think it would be a good thing for the city to actually have a list of certified car parking slots out and about.
They probably do already.
Yeah, I just I've just not looked one up. And it's rare that I'm parking in the tourist zone anyway. But on those one or two occasions when I have, it's been it's been less than satisfactory. But that's more in the past than now. I think there's better signage. There's more options right now.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is this is a good example. Okay, we have she's bringing up Patel's bringing up something that's a constant nuisance, and there are a lot of course, we're a tourist area. There's a lot of non-compliant type of parking lots. The Wayne Thompson even said he was going to lick the ice at the Gale Center, but he never did. Ha ha.
Yeah, I think that was in my response to what he was talking about with parking lots a while back. Victorian Armory with huge amount of PCBs. Maybe they should clean that up. Yep.
Yeah.
I know the one you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. Geez.
I think that was why they put the parking lot there, wasn't it?
Well, that was that the old hydro building there. Maybe that's where the PCBs.
Possibly, yeah. Is that the building? Is that what was there? Yeah. I take your word for it. I can't remember what was there right now.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, Patel's trying to make a bit of a name for herself, trying to be
the parking
do her job, I guess. But seriously, she should do a little homework before she begins. And then her presentation would look a little bit more professional. I've looked into this private. There's all these, instead of saying, well, there's parking lots or dog's breakfast, that gets her a headline. But if you really look into what she's saying, it's all a big mess. We got all these parking lots. Well, you should have been informed about what had already been done up until this point so that you could refine your motion or whatever you wanted to bring about.
Yeah, basically, Mike is saying the Hydro Service Center was at that Victorian Armory area. I think it's been open for the longest time, hasn't it? It's been, that's why I just can't remember what was there. It's been open for the longest time. In fact, it may have been open the whole time I've lived in Niagara.
Yeah. I just can't remember when the wrecking ball hit this place, but
yeah. Long time ago, I think. Right. Yeah, because I remember it being open for at least 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what else we got?
Yeah. Okay. So moving on, Trump, steps up tariffs on steel and aluminium, rising inflation on the promise of more jobs. Right. He didn't even wait the 28 days, did he?
No, but this is what he tried. This is exactly what he did the last time he was in. Remember, he brought in tariffs under the guise that the United States had to have a vibrant steel and aluminum production in their own country to satisfy their needs for the military. He said they have to be self-sustaining in order to make sure their military, in the event of a military action, you have a lot of steel production and good steel production. That's all said well and good, but he also knows as much steel as he wants to get from Canada, he can. But this is a steel and aluminum tariff that's around the world. And right now, places like Australia, like it hits everybody. It hits all his allies or the U.S.'s allies, which is kind of unfortunate.
And the four greatest importers, the countries they import steel from, is Canada, Brazil, Mexico, and South Korea.
Yeah. Now, South Korea, Mexico, these are all strong allies of the United States.
Canada, absolutely. Canada, Brazil, not so much, but yeah, even they're fairly strong ally.
Now, you can make the argument that you need steel production to make sure that you can maintain military wherewithal. It is essential to the defense of the country to have this. But as far as Canadian steel, he knows that anytime there's going to be a war or anything of that kind, that steel will be at his beck and call anyway, because we are such a tight ally that we would never withhold any kind of steel. Now, there is another problem too, which is a problem. Like the last time he did this, it didn't work. He wanted to bring in more steel production into the United States and create jobs, and it worked for a little while, but then it didn't. The steel production did not increase for a time, but things went up in price, and then finally the steel and aluminum tariffs were dropped because it had a detrimental effect. For a short time, there was more jobs created and more steel produced in the United States, but it didn't maintain itself because the price was too expensive. The global market is so intertwined, and this was the creation of the United States and the West, basically, of having these closely connected trade agreements all across the world. Now he's trying to dismantle that with tariffs, which means other countries will put up tariffs, and so this interconnectivity that is said to have improved the world and improved standard of livings all over the world. Now he's trying to dismantle that. What that means is going to be more expensive for U.S. Consumers, because the U.S. cannot make the steel and aluminum that quickly and have that turnaround. That happened the last time. It didn't really work. His tariff on steel and aluminum didn't work. So I don't know what he's going to do here, but in the short term, it's going to have really detrimental effects to Hamilton. And in the here, there are many people that work in the steel mills, and that's going to affect their livelihood. And we're only going to go right back to where we were anyway the last time he tried it. So I really don't know what he thinks he's going to get out of this.
What gets me about this, Dave, is that it's like, when you think about it, Canada, Brazil, Mexico, South Korea are nations that you probably want to be encouraging some form of trade with. China, who's a nation that we want to kind of cut off trade with, he's only put in a 10% tariff on China. What's wrong with that picture?
Well, it's added to other tariffs that he's already put on, but China can adjust. China makes more steel than anyone in the world.
I know.
And they're making it dirt cheap. And they keep their currency low to be able to do that. Right now, China is totally reliant, almost completely reliant on foreign trade. And what the IMF and other and countries have said, you're going to have to try to stimulate domestic spending in your country. But what right now is the Chinese people are kind of holding on to the money and not spending it as much because they're don't have confidence in their own economy. So they're holding on to their money and not spending it. Whereas if China opened up its markets a little bit, domestic spending would go up and China would be less reliant on exports. But right now they will keep their products low in price to keep that export market going. But it doesn't in other places in the world when a country is successful in exporting money, exports and having money come in, then that stimulates the middle class, and the middle class begins to spend internally, which is a revenue source for the government. So the government has a domestic and internal domestic source of revenue as well as an external one. China is totally reliant on the export one. So it will always try to keep its exports lower than others, and thereby put a real damper on its own domestic spending. So we want China, other people or other agencies are saying, improve your domestic market, improve the conditions of your people, and then you won't have to rely so much on exports. But that's not the way they see it.
Well, okay. The other thing is that's important to be said is a little under 2% of the steel and aluminium came from China, but Trump is suspicious that Chinese and Russian aluminium is going through other nations in order to reach the US. So he's basically saying that steel is coming from China through, just to pick upon it. And I'm not saying not making the allegation here, but so it's coming through China to Brazil and then Brazil to the USA. I'm not sure that's true, but
it could be because
that's what the allegation is.
We back a while ago, a few decades ago, that was happening right here in Canada. So we had our domestic steel producers, and the Americans had theirs too. But what was happening was steel was getting dumped in other countries and then making its way into the United States and Canada. Yeah. We had a terrible problem with steel being dumped into our country. And this was by our friends like Japan and Germany and others who had surplus of steel production, and they wanted their steel companies to keep producing because it was in their interest to do that. And in order to do that, they dumped cheap steel into Canada and the United States, and they did it in a variety of different ways. And those are some of the ways they did it. They would find loopholes, like take it to Brazil first and then bring it into Canada, kind of thing. It took a long time to discover this and to stop up all the different loopholes. And the United States is right, but the same thing is happening to Canada. We got a lot of cheap steel dumped on us. Yeah. Now the Australians, the last time the tariff was on, it was also on the Australians. And the Australians, once we settled our steel dispute with the United States, the Australians got tricky and started bringing their steel into Canada and then bringing it into the United States. And that was discovered. So they tried a little tricky thing too. The Australians are trying to get a carve out for their steel production in the United States. But remember, this is a two-way street. We also buy steel from the United States.
Yeah, of course we do. Yeah.
Yeah. And in overall production, anything except oil, the United States has a surplus with us. So we have overall trade surplus except for oil. And that oil they take and make money off of it. So
well, you will understand about the steel, which I probably won't, but I know there are different grades of steel used for different types of different things that are manufactured. And some of the steel that the Canadians produce is of a different grade than the ones that the Americans produce. And that's why we kind of swap steel to some extent. right? Because Canadian manufacturers need the steel that the US steel manufacturers are doing, and US manufacturers need Canadian steel in order to get that job done. And changing American factories over to produce the equivalent of the Canadian steel is not an easy just swap the tools change.
Well, actually, they can produce the type of steel that's coming out of Hamilton, and they are already producing that kind of steel. They're just not producing much now. As much as the steel producers want. Now, the steel producers and the unions around steel production want these tariffs. They got them the last time. They got a bit of a spike. But it didn't last very long. So this is going to be another one of the Trump's temporary things, because once the cost of things start to go up, then I think that the Trump tariffs will not be looked upon so well. Right now, the people who use the steel aren't so happy about it. So those the car manufacturers and other people that use the Canadian steel or other steels aren't too happy about this, because now they're going to have to pay for the more expensive steel, and American steel production wasn't able to come up and cover all these areas the last time, and I don't think it'll happen again this time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's about different types of steel. We still import more than we export, but it's different types of steel.
Yeah. And we've always had this steel thing going on. And there's another aspect to this that the Mexicans has brought up, is that the Trump was the one that designed the US MCA, the current NAFTA trade agreement. Yeah. And a lot of these things is in violation of his own rules, in violation of his own trade agreement that he was the one that engineered, or, he wanted this new trade agreement. He fashioned it. He said it's the best trade agreement. It's the fairest, the best there ever is. And then suddenly he decides, well, you know what? It's fair. And that's what I don't like about it. I want it to be heavily American based, biased.
Yeah. All right. See if we got some comments about this. I've got several comments. Okay, several comments. Good morning, Betty. She's saying good morning to everybody. China versus USA versus Ukraine. Hey, China's
China, Canada, US versus
who are we?
We'll have to explain that. There's Great Britain, Canada. When we say we, when I'm saying we, I'm thinking Canada basically, but the tariffs, like I said, are universally applied to everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is the network of defenses. The Australians have put this out there. They've spent a lot of money aligning with the United States in that's one place you don't want to hurt economically, because Australia is a very, very important ally, particularly where it exists in the South Pacific there. And it's closeness to China and all that. That is a place you want to embellish. Like, you're not going to annex Australia. You can't do that kind of thing. You can't buy Australia. But what you want to do is have a very strong ally there.
Yeah.
Australia's got the US's back, and has spent a lot of money in its coordination with the United States in defenses. So it seems really kind of dumb to punish your allies that way. What you want to do is have them strong, economically strong, and that will help you.
Okay, something else to note. Apparently, Trudeau, who's in Paris right now, is actually looking at responding to Trump's steel and aluminium tariffs if he deems it necessary. So he's maybe making a statement from Paris today.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Do we then put tariffs on U.S. steel coming into the country? That will make our cars more expensive.
Yeah.
So you might not. It might not. That will help our own car industries if we don't put tariffs on it, which would be
Well, it's not.
irksome to Trump, because then those cars are still don't go up in price when we export them.
Well, some of the issues here is that when it comes to making cars, for example, cars are a very complex thing. And, when you're building the production line that builds a car, the final product is actually importing bits of that product from around the globe. And not all of those just come straight off of Canadian production or American production. They've gone back and forth across the border many times, many of the bits.
Yeah, these are companies that produce parts in Mexico and the US and are assembled in Canada with whatever we add to it. So so I don't think the tariffs are going to work for very long. It didn't work last time when he tried it. I don't know what he's trying to do now with it.
I don't know that
in the short term, it's going to hurt the people who work in Hamilton.
Yeah. I don't know what the longer term impact is of it. And I think it potentially could hurt us all.
Yeah, he's scrambling around, basically trying this and that. We really don't know his end game here. I think he's just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks and seeing what the reactions are. I think that's his method. He throws things out there. He gets a big sort of shotgun blast and see which pellets hit where. In the meantime, though, it's doing damage. So I don't think he really understands what he's doing here, but he has to stay in the headlines all the time. So he's promised tariffs, so he's got to put some tariffs somewhere. And this is exactly what he did the last time, and it worked briefly, but then it didn't work. It went the other way. We'll have to see what the stock market is going to say. He seems to be worried about how the stock market reacts. We'll see.
Okay, the other side effect that I did with this is I found another article here done by the Global News that's basically saying steel and aluminium tariffs will increase the auto insurance rates. And the logic behind this is that not just car prices go up, but car parts go up in price as well. So that those parts that are needed when you have a car crash. So you have a car crash, you need to replace, X and Y and Z on your car in order to bring it back up. So now, insurance costs go up in order to account for that.
Yes. Well, I don't know. There are ramifications for this. And as I said before, Trump likes the headlines, so he's got to stay in the headlines somehow. So he's going to put these on. These are exactly the same ones he's done before. So when he first announced the 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada, the stock markets went crazy. There was lots of petitions behind the door saying, this is not going to work out too well. We're not prepared to match the productivity. We haven't built the industries to match the productivity that you want. So that's why he backed down on that. So he went back to his first tariffs that he put in his first administration on steel and aluminum, because that gave him a little bit of wiggle room. He can just say, well, look, here are the tariffs I promised. These are the same ones I did last time. I know what happened to them. I got a little bit of success for a short period of time, of course, but that wouldn't last. So he's looking for the short-term gain right now.
Yeah. All right. Let's move away from tariffs. Lococo is seeking to join the regional team that's combating homelessness. She was interviewed by Niagara Falls Review, and she wants to be part of that regional group because she sees them as actually making progress on the matter.
Yeah. Well, she first wanted to get our own committee in Niagara Falls up and running again, our own homeless committee.
I would be supportive of that. I think we should.
Well, she was somewhat dissuaded in that, saying that you would probably be better off working with the region rather than our own homeless committee. It might be more effective if you go back, or if you start, if you contribute to the regional one, because that's the regional one. Committees take care of the whole region and may have more resources. And I think she was counseled in this by Joyce Morocco, according to the article. I'm trying to bring it up now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Okay. I get that we got a regional team, and maybe that has an impact because having somebody from Niagara Falls on there might ensure that the regional team puts the right amount of focus in on the Niagara Falls problems. It always we seem to get last choice with some of the regional spending.
Councillor Lococo brought a motion for Tuesday's meeting calling on the city to reinstate homeless committee created during the council's last term, 2018 to 2022. Council voted and appointed Lococo to sit on the committee for the current 2022 to 26 term. However, the committee has not met since the previous term and has not issued a call for committee members for this term. Lococo said that the city and regional staff, the Niagara Regional Police, and other stakeholders regularly meet to deal with the situations involving homelessness, mental health, addiction, etc. Homeless committees should be involved in some way of part of the solutions. But here's the thing. But Lococo pulled her motion after council discussed the possibility of her sitting on a similar regional group. So basically the argument is, yeah, it sounds good, but will it be that effective? Where are you going to be more effective going to the region? How effective is our own city committee when it may be much more effective if you go, Lori, you go to the region?
I'm in two minds about that. Why isn't our own committee meeting? I think that often at the region, the problem here is that we get distinct Niagara Falls issues lost, right? I think putting somebody like Laurie on the region will make sure that that isn't the case, but I'm also still fearful that we are forgetting things. You get where I'm coming from, don't you?
Yeah. Now, what has to happen here? The region has more resources, and it's a regional issue, not just a Niagara Falls issue. And the region will have more issues, and there are supports coming to the region. So that's why I think it was sort of a thought that to be more effective, that she go to the region where there are more resources and a plan, basically, to deal with this could be more coordinated. Every little town having their own little idea and committee on homelessness, I think it washes out the effectiveness. Niagara Falls is doing this, St. Catharines is doing that. But what we've discussed before, that the resources are not being successful. Our own different little committees have not been successful. In fact, our own hasn't even
met. That's troublesome.
Well, that's probably because the committee isn't meeting because there's nothing they can do. There's nothing new.
Yeah. Fair question. I don't know what the answer is. I'm speechless about this, and it's saddened that I'm think that we seem to be in a situation whereby there's nothing that we can do. That seems to be very problematic.
There's a lot of things that are already being done. The coordination of those efforts is the problem. So there's a lot of goodwill. There's a lot of people trying to get to the source of the problem, how to address the problem. Niagara Falls does it. Niagara Lake does it. Welland does it.
Yep.
And Burgess, CEO Burgess, said he takes part in a regular call with relevant stakeholders about issues related to homelessness. We have been, and of course, he's saying here that we've been a little bit more effective than the other communities. He implies that he says we have been effective in Niagara Falls in the size of our encampments and some of the issues because of our interaction between our bylaw and Niagara Regional Police and our outreach workers. I use the term success in quotes because I don't think anyone can claim success, but we're doing better than some communities. Well, that's basically it in a nutshell. The success is in quotation marks because
I don't know that success is. I would agree with him. Success is a relative term in that regard, and there's it's not easy to claim success on an issue this large, this problematic, and this and this challenging. And as Gary has pointed out, homeless people are out there dying right now in the cold.
Yeah, and it's also put out, and not just lesser, but also serious things like amputations, because people's digits are getting frozen, so they have to be amputated.
Yeah.
So the problem is growing. The issue is growing, and there is a lot of goodwill. There's a lot of want to fix the problem. It's the coordination. How do we fix it? And we keep coming across different ways of saying, well, we got to fix it, including removing the rights of those people in encampments, so you can force them in certain areas and force them into put pressure on them to get addiction counseling and all that. All well, but the bottom line is that will take a lot of resources that are not currently out there available for the people that are already doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So coordinating, getting a central area like the region and trying to come up with a standard by which we address the issue and where we can accumulate our resources and come up with strategies to rather than separate little strategies in every different community. So things have to be coordinated, and a plan has to be formulated, and that has to be.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Dave. I'm not disagreeing at all. And I think that we need more people on board. We need more people on board that are prepared to do, that come from organizations. I dare I say, we need more people on board that come from organizations that help, that got a focus on homelessness. We also need more people on board that have actually got ideas about homelessness. Dare I say, even adult people bring people on as and when we need them.
The problem is that we do not have a coordinated response. That's part of the problem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everybody we've heard all kinds of different people coming, and this is how we do it here, and this is how we do it there. But the problem, as we've said over and over and again, it's going to take a lot of resources. It's going to have to take a plan and a coordinated effort. This is the plan we will advance. Let's see how it works. If that doesn't work, adjust the plan. But something, whether it's by trial and error or however, there has to be a coordinated effort.
Yeah.
And there has to be more resources given to it, because this is a growing problem that is baffling to just about everybody that tries to address it.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay. Doubt it. I'm not sure whether I put this comment up, Betty. I doubt it for a second. We're fighting for a GO train 24/7, yet a homeless encampment on that. On that exact route. Yeah. My friend back home had a few people outside her apartment doing pipe stuff. She opened the door to a knife in-house, knife kids in-house saying, what happened to Canada? Yeah. And Gary's, I don't honestly know. It's not the Canada I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is a problem not just in Canada, but this is a problem growing throughout the Western democracy
world. Yeah.
It is a hideous problem in the big states, in the big cities in the United States. I talked to a fellow that went to Peterborough recently, where I lived for a year, and he's saying that the place is full of addicts and homeless people. Something I never saw when I was there. So this is a growing problem. It's it's coming out of our culture. It's coming out of the Western culture. There are these people that do not belong. Now, drugs and mental illness is part of it. Poverty is another part of it. So to house them, I suppose, is the very first thing you want to do. But how do you then address this issue? It's kind of like a disease that keeps growing and festering.
Yeah, and that's a part of the problem. So he'll see you in a while.
Okay, I'm and this time I'm paying. So when you're thinking of the homeless people, will continue to be looked upon as wastrels and offscourings of society as it goes. You're going to get that sort of shantytown thing that those people over there, the white trash kind of attitude that they used to have in the United States, where those people are have to live somewhere, but they are irretrievable. They cannot be made into good citizens.
Yeah.
It is a disease that we're going to just have to deal with. But if we can just keep them over there, that'll be better for us. We don't want that.
Yeah. Well, the part of the problem here is that we got we're not dealing. We need to start to deal with some of the problems, like more affordable housing. And it seems that we're, in the last year or so, I don't think I've heard the term affordable housing used when it comes to developments being passed in the city. Most of those developments are going through on the nod, and affordable housing isn't even a part of them.
There's another article here.
I take my words back, because there is one development where the words affordable housing were used on McLeod Road.
Well, there is an initiative going on, and I added this article. I added it a few days ago, but we skipped it. But there's I added it again today, and that's called single room occupancy. And actually, we should talk about that tomorrow because
we'll talk about that tomorrow. Motel rooms to housing plan to be undergoing a further study.
Yeah, it's it's a good thing. They're already doing it somehow in bits, but what it really means is they're going to try to take some of the hotels and turn them each different room as a single unit where the person pays rent, but it's of course affordable because it's only one room with a bathroom and maybe a little hot plate and a little fridge or something. But it does afford a affordable place where someone can live. Anyway, we'll get back to that tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll get back to that tomorrow. And it's an initiative we do need to look at, that's for sure. All right. Okay, all so right. Laurie Parliament is saying geared to income, not affordable housing. Thank you. Yeah.
That's another one. Like there's the nonprofit. I know we have that in our Kiwanis homes. We have the like nonprofit where we just take the people and take care of them, and there's the other ones geared to income where people get rooms and they're charged rent according to their income. But there's other ones that just get an apartment because they don't have it.
There are a number of issues because geared to income primarily is for the lowest paid in our community, often those people that are on benefits. You might well get a 2 or 3 bedroom house because they're getting a geared to income housing. But there's clear definitions about what geared to income means. In those geared to income communities, there are also what's called market rent, but don't think they're anything like market rent. They are.
No, I know, because we have market rent in our buildings too, and they're super low. If you compare them to other so-called.
Whereas geared to income, the rent on it might well be $100, and market rent might well be $700 or $800.
Anyway, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
I've
got a meeting in a little while, so
all right, we'll deal with that. Right. And
without further ado, I bid you adieu. Pray for peace.